So explain everybody, kind of the history of spy baiting, where it came from, the whole original concept on the Japanese side
Yeah,
overseas.
people don't realize this, and I think I have a couple up here, but I'll just showcase my most the earliest my earliest spy baits, and if I can find our little camera. But here is a spy bait. People probably have never seen this one before.
And that is not a floating lure, correct?
That is not. It's a sinking
Okay.
prop bait, hence spy
Because I
bait.
know back in the 40s and 50s here in the States, there was baits that looked similar to that, but they were made to float.
Yes. So, so what you're seeing right now is you're seeing sinking prop baits, and actually, when you look at these in close up, they're pretty advanced baits. I mean, they've got a thrush washer on the front of them, on the back of them. They've got bent props on them. Let me bring that puppy up there so you can see.
Yep.
This one in particular has fins, and these are dated around 1930s through the 1950s for the most part, I think, if I remember correctly. But those are what I would call ancient spy baits. So spy baiting, sinking prop bait concept was well in the U.S. a long time ago. The issue was this puppy just didn't whack the fish crazy like, and
No.
if you can tell, it's a bit of a departure from what we call a spy bait today,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So, but that's where the concept originated from, as far as I can recall. Now, maybe in Europe they also had sinking prop baits. I don't have any record of that, but in the U.S. at least we do have a phase where they kind of got into it. Then you go to Japan, and the Japanese were taking props and putting them on everything, uh, including jerk baits, filing down jerk bait bills, not putting jerk bait bills in the bodies, and then attaching props. They were doing all sorts of things. And so there was multiple versions of prop baits. Out came a phase of sinking prop baits, swisher baits, micro pulsing baits with some of the names. And so, and just it was an inlay of multiple different ones. Where spy baiting kind of took off is we took that idea and we kept refining it and refining it, because there was some sinking prop baits that today I could hand them to you, and sure, you may catch a couple fish, but you're not going to win a tournament on them. Some of them you cast 3 times and they would literally fall apart. And so it was just an array assortment out there. Where I think we as Duo took it, we took that process seriously, and we just refined that process more and more and more. We had a guide, I call him Nishizumi-san, but he also loved the sinking prop bait concept. He fished it quite a bit for big largemouth, so he was getting some fish on it. But we, as a group, R&D group, just continued to refine that process, and we regurgitated out this concept called spy baiting. My goal was to catch the most difficult fish we know of, and try to do that on a regular, consistent route. And that's hard to do. But as you could see, the guys that really got the concept, the first place I introduced spy baiting was in Texas. Now, people don't know that. They're kind of like, no way. I heard that, it's a hot deal up in Mille Lacs, or it's a hot deal up in Canada on Simcoe, or it's a hot deal up in St. Clair or Green Bay. But it was actually in Texas, and a handful of anglers there, I won't mention any names, kept me sworn secrecy, took the bait and fished tournaments with it. What is interesting is that's not their way of fishing. They really
Yeah.
are big bait. I don't want to call it Bubba fishing, but they are big bait kind of thinkers, presenters. They're trying to get
Beat
the
the
better price,
fish over the head with the lure versus
and
feed them. Yeah.
really good crankbait artists. A lot of those Texans are really, really good with a crankbait. They truly are. Whether it's a square bill, Mark Pack, who's on my pro staff, is a phenomenal angler and has years of experience as a guide and a tournament angler. But he's another example. He knows exactly what a square bill is utilized for. He's a legend out in Texas. But what I'm getting at is the Texans had the spy bait before everyone else. I mean, as far as a state. And they didn't talk about it until 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, which is hilarious because I introduced it to him 2012. Okay, so if you think about it, so if you want, what I'm getting at, folks, is if you want to keep a secret, tell a Texan. That's what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Okay, but most recently, some great Dave Mansue, a phenomenal angler. He's fished FLW and a number of different things. Scott Martin was in Texas. He was caught spy baiting. I mean, there's just been a handful of Texans that do it. Some guides now do it. From there, it was going south, kind of Alabama-ish, and then Georgia. So you're talking about Lake Lanier. It moved into there. And the funny thing is that Lanier, that's a spotted bass fishery. So that was my second goal.
It should do well on a spotted bass.
Well, and you would think so, but I don't want to say I got a lot of hate mail, but I got some resistance. Some of the Georgian boys were like, hey, listen, throwing 6-pound test above the trees, those spotted bass are going to come in, grab that bait if you're lucky, and then they're going to head to those trees and they're going to break it off. And there is truth to that. There is truth to that. So I'm not dismounting in that. But to me, I was thinking, don't you want to at least find out, get bit? I mean, so I'm maybe I'm a desperate fisherman, but later on, the Georgians took that bait, and they are still winning tournaments, spy baiting on like Lanier, those kind of places. And then you move into Alabama. I have some good pro staffers out there and guides. Chris Jackson, who's a good long-term friend of mine. He came from my Jackal days as well. But Chris does an array of stuff, but he guides out there, and he took spy baiting onto another plateau out there, catching all sorts of species of fish. And so the South took it, but it was kind of funny. The tournament anglers wouldn't talk about it at all. I mean, they just wouldn't talk about it. I'm talking, I can name 50 professional anglers right now that spy bait in the South that will not talk about it. So it is effective. And then obviously that grassroots movement kind of started up into the Great Lakes area, really kind of bypassing some states, mid-states, and going up into there. And then you saw I'm going to say the Michigan guys, I probably forced them to talk a little bit more than the rest of the guys. I feel I'm going to apologize ahead of time.
Well, I tell you what, I had a shameless reason to talk because I was working in a tackle store and I wanted to sell a lure that no other shop on the lake could get, and I wanted to promote it. So I had a shameless reason to promote it, so I didn't care. I had all those guys coming to my store clearing pegs, thinking that I couldn't get stuff back the next week, and I'm like, hey, David, I need more. Or Martin, send me another order, buddy.
Right. It was really a cool thing to see up there too. And obviously I want to give you a lot of credit in that as well. You were one of those students that didn't hold back, just was like, hey, I'm going to learn this thing from tip to tail. And I think that really helped your clientele because you were able to pull that technique apart, not only find out the basis of why it's working, how it's working, but adapt to it. You can take the bait itself. Throw it up in the sky, and a seagull's going to eat it. That's how effective it is, right? So,
yep.
So as you become a real versatile angler, you're going to have more and more opportunities. Now, I have some friends in the industry that are sponsored by other companies, so I won't mention their names, but I turned them on to spy baiting, and they won a lot of money. They may have not won a tournament on it, but they won a lot of money on it. Later on, maybe some other companies knocked on their doors and said, you need now to make one for us. But what I'm getting at is it's been really a joy, honestly, to watch it take hold, take traction. I still, to this day, if I'm available and have the time, I'm not afraid to sit down and try to help a guy through it. I did make a portal for guys. It's not an advertisement portal. It is a portal that says, hey, this is what line, rod, reel you can use. This is how to kind of consider your first few days of spy baiting. And it's really helped get a guy started. So if guys go to just spybaiting.com or www.spybaiting.com, they'll get it really, it's guys, it's not there for sales. I'm going to sell spy baits. I'm not there trying to do anything. This is really to help you guys out, honestly. So spybaiting.com, get out there and look at it. You can peruse through the information. I wrote it almost like a book form. I gave quite a bit of information on fish positioning, behavior, presentation, just to get guys going.